Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Go4SC2 2 monthly final for December of 2014, as we have 16 players today who are going to be challenging for around 600 euros worth of prize money. First place walks away with 300, and then it tiers down from there towards third or fourth place. We can actually take a little bit of a look at the brackets now to tell you exactly what's going to be happening for today. As you can see, we have quite a lot of good players lined up here in the European region for our Go4SC2 monthly final, but noticeably, we have one that really stands out in that round of 16, and it is Hydra versus Nerchio. As these two, I wasn't really expecting to see them hit each other in the round of 16, but that's just how seeds have gone during this cup, and they will be playing here in this single elimination bracket to find out who moves on through to the round of 8. So we've got that game on the way for you here in just a little second. Our first map is actually going to be Overgrowth, and to keep you a little bit up to date as to what is going on here in the Go4SC2 monthly finals, it's the current ladder map pool. So we have the newer maps in there that I actually haven't had much chance. In fact, I haven't had chance at all to cast on just yet. So hopefully we get a little bit of that in there as well. But for now, Hydra and Nerchio are loading up into their first game. And I haven't done any solo casting for a little while either, but this is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be our Zerg versus Zerg as we get into game number 1 here on Overgrowth. So, without further ado, let's get into game number 1 as we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner. It's our red Zerg representing Team Root. It is Hydra, a player that is currently in WCS America Challenger, will be participating at the Intel Extreme Masters Taipei in the next coming week. And then up to the top right-hand corner, it's none other than Acer Nerchio, the guy currently or will be competing in WCS Europe Challenger. Actually, his first opponent is going to be Naniwa of all people. I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to that, as both of those guys, well, we know there's going to be quite a bit of fireworks between them, that's for sure. All right, so as I say, haven't done much solo casting recently, not for quite a while, in fact. So this is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Back to my roots, as it were. That was no pun intended for Hydra's name. Oh, I didn't really mean to do that, but we'll survive. We'll survive. So, Hydra actually won a couple of the cups he won one during December, which qualified him through. He got a lot of points and was number 1 on the rankings during the December Go4SC2 run. And then likewise, he actually just last night won another Go4SC2. So Hydra is really on form when it comes to the European Go4SC2s. And as it works out in this round of 16 match, Hydra is one of those guys that's really trying to put on a lot of pressure and dominate the Go4SC2 scene, whereas Nerchio used to be the king of Go4SC2. He used to win day in, day out, a lot of Go4SC2s. He won a lot of money on Go4SC2s. But as of late, hasn't really had that steady momentum throughout these weekly cups. So here we are in the monthly. This is, in my mind, what I expected to see in the final. But overall, that's not going to be the case here. We are in the round of 16, and both players haven't really gone for anything too crazy, too cheesy to start things off. We already see this hatchery first going down from Hydra to really get himself in a little bit of a nice macro position, and spawning pool behind of this. Noticeably, Nerchio went for spawning pool into expansion, into extractor, and technically, this allows the gas to potentially be denied when it comes to the scouting from Hydra. He's a little bit apprehensive about going in there with his Overlord because he's seen the timing of this hatchery. So there can easily be a queen here to be able to push that Overlord away if he were to be a little bit more careful or a little bit more risky and actually go in there and try and spot the gases. So Hydra will be playing in the dark for just a little bit. Meanwhile, Nerchio has already seen the hatchery first, so is feeling pretty comfortable to move forwards with these 2 lings and have a little bit of a look around, as there will be 2 queens popping in just a bit for Hydra, but those lings will ferry it off. He may end up trying to go into the main, see if there's a gas there, but it looks like he's not even too bothered about that. So does back off for now. And speed is already on the way for Nerchio. Noticeably, though, he's left guys' drones in gas. So, okay. First blood goes to Nerchio. He's left guys in gas, so there is the potential at least for him to throw it on a Baneling Nest if he needs it, be it defensive or offensive. We'll have to see how this plays out. Normally, I would say for Nerchio, it's more the offensive route. He actually does like to go for pretty strong aggression in this matchup. It's a little bit more different than other ones. And did that... Wow, these two queens just got an Overlord. All right, I did miss that, but that does supply block Nerchio and cause him a little bit of problems. He had one Overlord on the way, but that second one was a little bit slower during all of that. So, if he had any ideas for aggression, yeah, I was about to say. If he had any ideas for aggression, losing that Overlord kind of puts a little bit of stump in his path. So actually cancelling the Baneling Nest during all of that, and is just going straight for the Evolution Chamber at the back of all places, which is an interesting location. Not too often you see that in ZVZ. Normally in Zerg vs. Zerg, you would see the Evolution Chambers at the front, similar to how we're seeing Hydra do it. As you can see, though, Nerchio is not really aware of that just yet. He may be able to get notice of it with this Ling, unless it's just going to sit around at the third and anticipate a third base going down. But Hydra, likewise, has already spotted his opponent's third on the way. And is Hydra going to react? Because at the moment, there's one Roach on the way, but he is a little bit supply block. Needs to get out of that. He's opening up room, though, for a lot of Roaches here with those 4 Overlords on the way. So there is the potential that he could try and push forwards, especially since he got that Overlord at the front. There is a second one here for Nerchio, which was very, very well replaced, because he wants to know exactly what Hydra's going to be doing if he's going to be moving out into the middle of the map with a lot of units very, very fast. So that's what those two queens were looking for. They were looking for a potential another Overlord, but thankfully this one is in a more defensive location. Hard for the queens to really get to it because of the rocks there. But 6 Roaches are on the way, and behind all of this for Nerchio, it's drones, drones, drones. These Lings looking to deny a third base from going down as that drone is on the way, and they will get the denial, but... Now, Nerchio actually making Roaches thinking, well, this is a little bit late for your third base, and I've just seen a lot of Roaches. So if I can take the economic advantage that I've put myself at, especially with my third base about to be established, then we could see a very, very strong first game here out of Nerchio. But look at this, Hydra. Wowzers. Okay, then. Well, if I can't take my third base down to the south, I guess I'm going to take the gold. And at least the Roaches that he made will be able to defend this. But one thing's for sure is that any plans that Hydra had for aggression with the opening up of 4 Overlords have been shut down and kind of diminished, because Hydra saw the extent of the Roaches that were already being produced to defend this location. And as it's played out in this early stages of Zerg vs. Zerg, Nerchio's got that little bit of an edge. So anyway, third base is on the way now. That's actually quite a lot of Roaches still here for Nerchio, as he does have no +1 weapons finished just yet. Did he actually even do anything with that Evolution Chamber? It doesn't look like it, interestingly. So I'm surprised that that +1 didn't start. It may have been a little bit of a slip-up considering how early he got it, and that slip-up, if it was a slip-up, has actually caused quite the upgrade advantage there for Hydra, with his +2 weapons now on the way. So by the time +1 is finished, +2 will almost be finished here as well for Hydra, who is set up in a very, very defensive position, doesn't want these Roaches moving in from any weird angle, and they are positioning themselves on the low ground just to see if they can get a few snipes off on these drones, but the range is just a little bit out. Hydra moves into a defensive position, though. Nerchio's Roach speed is not done during all of this, so it makes it a lot harder for him to try and find an engagement angle. And those Roaches still can't reach those drones on the goal base. So it's a nice attempt, Nerchio, but no cigar. All right, so 7 more Roaches on the way here for Hydra. If you're unfamiliar with Zerg vs. Zerg, we're going to be seeing a lot of Roaches. A lot. For quite a while, until somebody deviates and maybe goes into Hydralisks. There are a few more deviations, though, but we'll talk about those once they come along, as Nerchio's trying to press up onto this high ground. A little bit scary to try and do that, though, as Hydra does have the Roach advantage and upgrade advantage. But it was all a ruse to try and bring some of those units out of position. He did get 7 workers over here at the gold with those Roaches, so nice movement there by Nerchio to try and catch Hydra off guard, as it were. And he has opened up his economical advantage quite severely now, and even just getting in there with a few more suicide attempts to get more of those drones. So that really, really hurts Hydra at this point. Goes down 10 drones. He's at 32 to 50. Income-wise, across these 3 bases, it's going to hurt quite a bit. And now Hydra feels a little bit pressured. He has to do something, but this is a great concave here set up by Nerchio to greet anything that will come up the ramp. And also +1 weapons would have finished up if Hydra would have gone into that engagement. So with +2 not done for another 15 seconds, the upgrade advantage for a while there would have been negated by that small skirmish. So got to be careful. Still a good concave for Nerchio. Pressing up here could mean a lot of pain here, but he's going up with his +2 weapons. Hydra's looking to do damage with that +2 and negate the idea of the concave being good there for Nerchio. Numbers 35 to 35, really dead even. But you've got to remember that Nerchio does have the reinforcement point advantage here, so maybe that'll be able to carry him through. He gets a few of those roaches on the left-hand side, but Hydra now goes down in terms of supply. Nerchio has executed this first game very, very well, and unfortunately, the earlier plans of Hydra never came to fruition. And now Nerchio is on the warpath, looking to do a little bit more damage on these retreating roaches. But now the reinforcement point does go down to Hydra, and also he has +2 weapons. Got to take that into consideration. He might be able to win this out, but Nerchio is looking for extra alternatives, looking for a few more drones on that right-hand side to cripple some of that economy. And that will probably pay dividends. There you go. GG. Game number 1 goes to Nerchio in this round of 16. And again, I was expecting these two to meet a little bit later on in the tournament. Nerchio's always had really good Zerg versus Zerg. It's actually something that's carried him forwards a lot in Go4SC2s. And Hydra, a guy that has not only qualified for WCS America, but also the Intel Extreme Masters Taipei later on next week, is on the ropes a little bit. The game plan didn't quite work in his favor there. And, I mean, one thing that was cool about what we saw from Nerchio was he may have wanted to go for something a little bit more aggressive with that Baneling Nest early on, but losing that Overlord at the front, supply blocking him, and slowing down those plans kind of stopped that a bit. So, anyway, we are now getting into game number 2 here in just a second. It's going to be on... it's going to be on Varney Research Station. Now, I'm not 100% sure if I'm pronouncing Varney correctly, or... Varney, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to look this up at some point. But if I'm thinking Varn from Final Fantasy XII, that's my kind of methodology there. All right, so good luck. As Hydra needs a second to get ready for his game. But he's 1 game away from elimination here in this monthly final. And normally, again, when it comes to these weekly, monthly cups online, Hydra does very, very well in them. And he's already established quite a position of dominance in the European scene for Go4SC2s. Of course, a lot of people have been able to challenge him, such as people like Targo. We've even seen Petraeus do well during this, who is also playing in the tournament. But once Hydra is back, we can get into game number 2. So I hope you're enjoying, guys, so far. Nerchio really going to kind of throw a spanner in the works here if Hydra does go out in the round of 16. Really wasn't expecting that. But Nerchio, as always, we know him. He's been, for a long, long time, one of the best foreigners in the entire scene across the Western Hemisphere, as it were. He kind of fell off a little bit during towards the end of 2013 and then start of 2014, but later on he really picked it back up, showed a lot of good games, and that, in my mind, was a very, very strong game by him. Again, looking for opportunities early on, realizing it wouldn't work and looking for alternate methods to eventually play that game forwards, which was the quick third base and then the disruption of a third base being taken by Hydra after him obviously trying to go for something a little bit more aggressive with the opening up of supply for a few more roaches. So still just waiting for Hydra to be back. Hydra, I assume, is playing from America. I'm not quite sure if he's in the root house or something like that. But regardless of that fact, if he is playing from America to Europe, the latency is not actually too bad from that region to the next. But if he was playing from Korea, maybe it's a little bit more sketchy. That's why you don't really see too many Koreans actually playing in these. We have seen a few Koreans in the past, such as Solar and Armani, playing in Go4SC2s. And actually, both of them did quite well. And then, obviously, Solar went on to win a few tournaments himself, a Premier tournament, actually, and a DreamHack. And then Armani also playing quite a lot in Pro League, actually, today. Unfortunately, losing out in a Zerg versus Zerg to Lacera on Overgrowth, actually. But anyway, Hydra and Nerchio are good to go here for game number 2 here at the Go4SC2 monthly finals for December. And I'm wondering if my throat's actually going to hold up this whole solo cast. We'll see. It's been a long time since I've done it, as I said. And I've never cast a game on Varney Research Center Station, even. I have played a few games here and there on the new ladder. And the new maps are very interesting. A lot of thirds are very, very far out of the way. Varney Research Station isn't one of those bigger culprits. But anyway, let's get into game number 2 now to find out if Hydra can tie it up or if Nerchio can take the series 2-0. As we have spawning down to the south, it's our red Zerg, it is Hydra. And up to the north, it's our blue Zerg, it is Nerchio. Currently 1 game up, looking good. Looking pretty darn good. Sugoyo, GG. Very respectful of Nerchio. Not what I've come to expect from him, but oh well. Okay. The banter is real. The banter is real. But Hydra, apparently, nothing to say. Nothing to say. He'll just keep going. Okay. So, for people who are more unfamiliar with this map, let's take just a little bit of a look at it because it is quite new in relation to something as common as Overgrowth that we've seen for a very, very long time. Okay, so we actually have expansions in the lag. We actually have pocket expansions for both players to the east of the map, which does help out. And then, compared to some of the newer maps, like I was speaking before, the third base is actually quite close to you, but it is quite open from attack. Very, very open here, very, very wide. But again, so say if you're playing Protoss, for example, generally you're taking the pocket expansion and you have a bit more of a force to be able to actually establish that base. So being open isn't too much of a big deal when it's going over towards a third, for example. Likewise, we have gold base over here on the left-hand side, and also 2 gold bases on the right. So there, technically, base-wise, there is a lot of minerals to be mined on this map if it does go that far. But I haven't seen too many games go super far on this map. There is the potential for a good split map situation, say when Zerg's going up against Terrans and stuff like that. As we have a pause for a second because Hydra is having a little bit of lag issues here. So we'll just wait for him to kind of round things out. Nerchio not too happy with that, but whatever. Okay, so he was having no lag during it. Is here someone new caster? Don't think so. Okay, so let's go over the builds quickly just to make sure we covered them whilst we were talking about the map, of course. We actually had Spawning Pool first from Nerchio, whilst we had Hatchery first from Hydra. So, again, little bits of deviations. Nerchio has been favouring the Spawning Pool first against Zergs a little bit more, and it did work out well for him in the previous game. Had a few Zerglings poking around here and there at the front, but didn't quite get in to see any kind of gas timings to really give him peace of mind. But of course he had that Baneling Nest on the way, which could have also been used for defensive purposes if he'd have seen any kind of aggressive moves coming out across the map. Anyway, looks like Hydra's good to go. So let's get back into Game 2 here on Varney Research Station. As Spawning Pool is on the way here for Hydra now as well. So no gas just yet here by Nerchio. A little bit later in this game than in the previous. And overall, it does take quite a while to actually get from one main base to another on this map. It's a really interesting layout, actually. It's very uncommon. You see maps. Normally, you have like main bases in the corner of the maps, etc., etc. If it's a 2-base map, or if it's a 2-player map, or a 4-player map. But this one, dead vertical down the middle. So the perspective, I'm going to have to try and get used to it whilst casting it. All right, so Hydra's opted for his gas to start things. And we'll see if these 2 lings are going to be able to get any information at all. Because of the way the bases are laid down, you're not so much scouting out the idea of a natural because it's not really in the front, because it's a pocket expansion. So there is a good opportunity here for him to poke up and see what is going on, especially because he went Hatchery first and the Queen might not be out just at the right time to be able to block with those 2 lings if he was really eager about getting up there with the 2 Zerglings. But he's not. So it looks like Hydra should be completely fine in terms of blocking this off. Nerchio could have got up there, again, because of that timing of the Queen. But he did spot, actually, with this Overlord, the 2 Lings there. So he's playing a little bit more safely, really conservative with these Lings to make sure nothing too bad is going to happen to them. Aside from that, noticeably, both players actually sent their second Overlords in the direction of... Ooh, micro. And once again, Nerchio wins out that fight. That's twice in a row that's happened now with these initial pair of Lings. So good micro by Nerchio against Hydra here. But yeah, okay, so coming back to the direction of the second Overlord, both of them don't really care what's going on at the natural behind in the pocket expansion because there's nothing to be expected. Wow, Nerchio! Okay, let those guys heal up a little bit and then go for the aggressive move on the next Ling. That was really good. So 2 Lings for 0. Very well done there. Okay, so yeah, this Overlord, second one, no doubt, normally looking to try and spot some kind of third base play coming out a little bit earlier. And Roach Warren and Evolution Chamber have been thrown down up on the top of the ramp here by Hydra, and he is spreading creep down there pretty quickly. Likewise is Nerchio, though, and he just has the single Evolution Chamber at the top. 2 Queens going to poke out and try and deny this. And do get those 2 Lings. So, in the end, the Ling count, death counter at least, has been tallied up for both. We have double Evolution Chamber as well as Roach Warren down for Nerchio. A little bit more rapid than previous game. He actually only had the 1 Evolution Chamber in the previous game and also no sign of an upgrade to begin with anyway. But this time around, Nerchio is really powering out those upgrades. Another 2 gas guys is being taken at the back to kind of pretty much equalize up where Hydra is going to be at. We need that 4th gas geyser being taken though by Hydra. And very, very soon, 3rd base is going to be taken here by Hydra. Nerchio does spot that with his second Overlord, as previously mentioned. No need to be sending that over to the pocket expansion, as we were talking about before. And we have the 3rd base going down for Nerchio. So no real need to be able to rival that from Nerchio's position. He can just sit back on his extra upgrade, in essence, and play this out quite nicely on a 3rd base. The double Evolution Chamber was spotted there by Hydra. So what this may provoke Hydra into doing something, whether it's going to be another Evolution Chamber himself or an aggressive move when his +1's weapons is finished remains to be seen. Again, there's 4 Overlords on the way, so he might try and free up a lot of supply and go for some Roaches towards that 3rd base right now. But Nerchio could have potentially anticipated that with the Spine Crawler. Now it looks like it's just going to be drones to populate the 3rd base here from Hydra. But again... okay, so it is going to be the second engineering Evolution Chamber. I mean, he had to do one of those things, right? He had to either go for aggressive moves or he had to get another Evolution Chamber. Sadly for him, he has been kind of caught with his pants down, and he will be behind in terms of those upgrades later on in the game. So, unless, of course, Nerchio does slip up and actually delay getting that +2 on the way. So we'll keep an eye on that in just a second. Once those finish, how quickly will he start that +2 to up? Well, Hydra is trying to catch up in that regard. Spreading his creep very, very aggressively. At least he has vision for whatever's coming along, but I mean, these Overlords in the middle of the map are giving him good reads and good insight as to what's going on there as well. +2 weapon starts instantly for Nerchio. Will the +2 carapace as well, as it started a little bit more delayed than the +2 weapons. Not too much going on right now. Aside from Hydra actually going for a Baneling nest. Now, I'm wondering if he believes that Nerchio's double Evolution Chamber style has been kind of orchestrated and put down here to then go over to a very, very heavy Roach Hydra composition. I mean, it could be a good choice considering how wide this area is and you getting a very, very good concave against your opponent if you're going to go for an aggressive stance. So for the Roaches and Hydras, obviously, to have as much surface area as possible. So if he goes for the Baneling nest to morph in a lot of Banelings behind all of these Roaches, I mean, technically, the Banelings, getting Banelings in with just Roaches versus Roaches is pretty good as well. But there's the Hydralist then on the way for Nerchio here. And if he can connect, if he can get a lot of Banelings morphed in and connect with those Hydras early on during a fight or force the split up, this could be very, very powerful for Hydra. One thing's for sure, though, I feel that this is a kind of a clever move from Hydra because he realizes his opponent's 2-2 was going to be very, very quick compared to his. So I mean, as you can see, +1 weapons, +2 weapons even, didn't even start for Hydra. So he may just try and go for a killing blow here before any kind of the keenness of 2-2 really catches up for Nerchio. I don't think he'll be able to hit a timing before 2-2 actually really gets down and occurs. He's got 4th base on the way as well, just in case. But again, Banelings can disrupt Roach numbers pretty well. They can do a lot of damage, despite these units being pretty heavily armored. And also the forcing of your opponent to actually move out of a concave situation does deny a lot of damage going down on your Roaches, etc. So the Banelings can cause a lot of problems, that's for sure. So we'll see how well this is going to work out. He's got a lot of Lings on the way, as Nerchio as well, actually, with his own Baneling nest going down. He spotted the Baneling nest at the back, so he may be trying to counter that similar idea. 28 Banelings are morphing in, though, here for Hydra. So this is what Nerchio is going to be really looking to contest with. In ZVZ, the ideal situation to deal with Banelings is getting an Infestation Pit and having Pathogen Glands on the way and landing a few Fungals on those Banelings before they're able to do anything. But that takes a long time to get to. So he's trying to go for a compensationary move here, as Nerchio is looking to get a good concave on these Roaches that are very, very clumped up. Banelings coming in from the right-hand side, though. How much are they really going to be able to do against this? There aren't that many Hydras in this army, but those Banelings is trying to dance around against all of this. A few more Banelings has to come in there for... Wow, Nerchio actually got a lot of Banelings for just a few of his own there, and this could really turn around. That being said, there's still a lot of Roaches here for Hydra, as he has 36 against 29, but 2-2 is finished during all of this. Also, reinforcements might be able to help Nerchio out. But at the end, Hydra is winning out this engagement despite losing a lot of his Banelings against just a few, 3, 4, 5 against that. So at least he'll be able to get this 4th base down. Don't think he can push in exactly for the kill right now on the 3rd base. He has to be a little bit careful because, again, that reinforcement point is important, but he took a significant supply lead there. And Nerchio is almost gambling with the Infestation Pit going down behind this. Anticipating the idea of Hydra not really going for a full frontal assault, but there's just too many numbers here for Hydra. Too many Roaches, gonna power on through despite that upgrade advantage here for Nerchio, who I guess moving out into the middle of the map just kind of got a little bit cheeky with his engagement. But Hydra has a lot of Roaches here. There's not as many at all for Nerchio, and despite the support fire of the Queens, doesn't really have any energy for transfuses either. I think all of these Roaches are going to get completely destroyed, as Hydra did very, very well in that last engagement. Lost a few of his Banelings, but as I say, pushing up for the win. There you go, GG. Game number 2 goes to Hydra, and we end up as 1-1 here in this best-of-3 ZVZ. So, well played out by Hydra overall in game number 2. Still think Nerchio probably could have taken that engagement a little bit back towards his 3rd base, but of course his plan there was to try and defend his 4th whilst knowing that his opponent was also taking a 4th behind it. So you do have to keep up in the economy game. Sacrificing the 4th is like, oh, do I really want to lose this piece of my base this early on when he's taking a 4th? Probably not, but even the +2-2 was not able to make a difference. None of the Banelings from Nerchio's side, even though he got a really good detonation. I think if you look at how the engagement went in the middle of the map, the Banelings, they did exactly what we were anticipating them to do, really, against just pure Roach, which was disrupt the engagement. You saw a lot of free damage coming out from Hydra's Roaches, whilst Nerchio's Roaches were dancing everywhere and not really doing too much. And that is one of the big factors there that really led to the overall win for Hydra. So anyway, game number 3 is going to be, one second, on Expedition Lost. Another map I haven't really had chance to cast at all, but I'm very, very excited too, because with new maps comes new exciting dynamics in all of these matchups. And again, we're still in the round of 16. This is only the round of 16 here between Hydra and Nerchio. Thanks to seeding, this is how it worked out. So, let me remind myself of which map this one is. It's the snowy one, okay. All the names at the start of seasons get jumbled up in my head, and it's hard to remember which is which, but we always get there in the end. So, Hydra now tying up the series 1-1. And I did like the way he played that out because he knew he was never really going to catch up in terms of the 2-2 upgrades. Let's get into game number 3 to find out who's moving on to the round of 8. As we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner, it's our red Zerg tying up the series. It is Hydra. And down to the bottom left, it's our blue Zerg. It is Nerchio. Okay, so once again, for anybody not too familiar with the newer maps, let's just give you a little bit of a rundown as to the layouts here. No pocket expansions for your Expedition Lost. It's just the simple expansion down the ramp with a nice ramp to be able to defend it on. So no big exposed area to really get a good engagement on. But this is one of the maps where third bases are pretty far away from your natural. So in terms of third bases, you're looking over here. There is a bit of a ramp to try and defend, but also this brush kind of exposed area where counterattacks could enter. If you're a Terran, you're going to have to try and wall a lot of that off with supply depots, and it could get quite annoying. And then your second option for a third is this one over here, which I'm personally a bit more of a fan. It's hard to say, because I mean, you can wall these sections off if you're a Terran or a Protoss or so, but you've got to traverse around this long, windy path to get to it. So, I mean, both of them come with their pitfalls, but obviously as well we have gold bases in the middle, which are extremely exposed and as such are quite difficult to hold on to. All right, so both players going to go for hatchery first in this third game. Neither player really taking too much of a risk. And I'm wondering overall if we see Nerchio try and go for an earlier baneling nest again, similar to how we potentially saw him play out game number 1. Could quite easily do some damage against what we were seeing from Hydra to begin with, who was pretty reluctant to throw down a baneling nest to really kind of get some sense of defense or aggression on the way. He's very adamant about this Roach Warren and 1 evolution chamber play, which at the beginning of last game did come back to bite him, because but he did see the second evolution chamber pretty quickly that Nerchio was working with and planned his game and his attack around that, which, as we already saw, worked out really, really well with those banelings causing the disruption. So, what are you going to do, Mr. Hydra, in this game? Looks like he's going to just take an earlier gas again. Gas has already been taken, though, by Nerchio during all of this, so he will have speed, and if he leaves on gas, my suspicions would prove a little bit true in relation to that kind of earlier baneling attack. But because he went hatchery first, this allowed the Overlord to get in there without a queen being present to push the Overlord away, and has already seen the extractor with the gas on the way. So he does have a good inkling as to what's going on. Not only that, but he can actually sit around even maybe for a little bit longer and see. I wonder if he clicked on that extractor, because right now there's 2 guys still left in there, and 100 gas had been mined, so he knows that speed is on the way pretty soon. He knows the timing of when he's going to have to deal with speed. And with a little bit of extra gas coming in here, Nerchio... Ling, what are you doing? Oh. Okay, so he sees still 2 in gas. Sees still 2 in gas. He wanted to get that confirmation. Sees the baneling nest. Now, the way he played that down, yeah, exactly. There was no way he was going to keep that. Definitely trying to throw a spanner in the works there for Hydra and throw the ruse down. But did he cancel that too early? He may have cancelled that too early, and it was... I don't know why that doesn't show up in Hydra's vision, but it really looked like Hydra spotted that baneling nest. I'm going to have to go back and watch the replay of that, actually. But anyway, evolution chamber going down. Nerchio was trying to play some mind games, and it doesn't really look like Hydra's fallen for it too much. It may have forced a spine crawler, but aside from that, not too much. So the winner of this will be going up against Straylock by the sounds of things. So we'll probably follow onto that, which will be very nice. As we have another gas going to be going down here for Nerchio. And he hasn't decided his layer just yet. He's got a Roach Horn on the way and +1 weapons. He may go with just these roaches. He's got a few lings being added on into the mix here. But layer's already on the way for Hydra. And if he's able to get Roach Speed up and running before anything goes on from Nerchio, then it could cause a few problems. There is the third base going down for Nerchio. Hasn't been spotted just yet by Hydra, but he moves straight on in to have a little bit of a look around and sees it instantly. As a few Lings are massing at the front. Now, this could cause a little bit of a panic here for Hydra. So just a few Lings. Again, it's a bit of a ruse. Like, what are they really doing? I suppose this is Nerchio's attempt, once again, at trying to deny the third base. We already saw him on Overgrowth do very, very well with that, with just a few Lings. And they did get a drone for their troubles. But there's Roaches out here for Hydra to be able to push those away and establish the third base pretty easily, I would say. So look at this small escort. Oh, and he does get the denial anyway. Very well done there by Nerchio. Another drone needs to come out. But yeah, small delays, small differences. I mean, Nerchio probably sacrificed, what, like 2 or 3 Zerglings for that, and even gets another denial. Oh, wow. Okay, very, very well done there by Nerchio. Might even get out with some of these Lings, and indeed he will. Very, very good stuff. Coming straight back in there after seeing the positioning of that extra drone with the Overlord. Lings run forwards towards their death, but they've done their job. So well done. Good denial of the third. Drone count right now, 48 to 43. Both players supply block to this point, but trying to get out of it with extra Overlords on the way. And Queen did get an Overlord there, so there was an even more severe supply block there for a second for Nerchio. Now, Roach Speed is about to finish up for Hydra, and this could cause a lot of problems. 18 against 15, though. He does have... The thing is that Roach Speed, I'm not sure if it's going to be able to counteract the idea of plus 1 already being done. But +1 was done then for Hydra as well, so... Opening up the back rocks to the main now. It's one point that I did forget to mention during our little rundown of this map, but yep, there you go. There's rocks. Can't brought down too easily early on in the game, so you just got to keep yourself an Overlord there and Zerg versus Zerg, or Zerg versus anything, actually. Make sure you're well knowledgeable of that. Supply depot, pylon, anything to really keep an eye on what's going on there. Nice little poke out by here for Hydra to catch some of these drones as all of the Roaches were way out of position. And that's what the advantage of the Roach Speed really gave him. Nerchio wasn't able to get back there too quickly, loses a few drones for his troubles, and he's going to dart right back on out. Now, as this game lines up, we're seeing almost a role reversal. We're seeing only one evolution chamber whirring away here for Nerchio against the 2 currently for Hydra. So ideally Nerchio would like to get that carapace going pretty quickly, doesn't want to be falling behind in that, and there we go, it's on the way. So, but there is about a 70-second window or so there where carapace does become a factor. Carapace isn't as strong as +2 weapons. +2 weapons giving +2 damage each time, whereas carapace only shields against 1 of that damage each upgrade. But still, you know, these things do factor in, and contamination to slow down that +2 weapons is a very good choice here by Hydra, especially considering how far along his upgrades are. So, putting himself even further forwards into the lead. Actually, I'm wondering if that Overseer did go for any contaminates here that we've missed. The reason I say that is because it is quite low on energy, or it may have been a few changelings. That remains to be seen. Observing and casting at the same time is kind of hard, guys. Sorry. But anyway, we have a lot of Roaches on the way. A lot of Roaches once again in the Zerg versus Zerg. The upgrades are going to line up very, very nicely here for Hydra to try and do something strong, because his army supply is also at an advantage here. Whilst 2 Roaches are also getting a few more workers on this right-hand side. Nerchio's army is preparing for an assault, be it through the rocks at the back, which is very, very difficult to do because the choke is so small here for the Roaches to push up onto the high ground, or be it towards the base here, which again, a concave could be set up for Nerchio, and he already is doing on the right-hand side here, so no way Hydra can take that fight. He'd be way out of position, despite having a superior numbers. And because now Nerchio has speed and is on creep, he can get back here to try and get a good position. But the upgrades are in advantage here for Hydra, as the carapace needs to finish up soon. And how many Roaches do we actually have against this? There's just overwhelming numbers here for Hydra to try and push down the rest of the Roaches of Nerchio. Even the Queens aren't going to be able to make up the deficit, as it's just too much. Just too much. Reinforcement point, yes, goes in Nerchio's favor, but Hydra is up in terms of supply. GG. Hydra will take it here in the round of 16 and move on to the round of 8. to play against Straylock. So I think we're actually going to be following Hydra onto that Straylock game. It kind of makes sense if it lines up like it does. And that means also we're going to go to a short break. So stay tuned. When we're back, we're going to have the round of 8. It's going to be Straylock versus Hydra here at the Go4SC2 monthly finals.